Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one we have something a little bit different. This is going to be my favourite beers and favourite breweries that I've encountered over 2020, and this is a video that's been requested by quite a lot of people in various different comment sections and lots of my different videos, and also quite a lot in the live streams as well. A lot of people have asked me to do my favourite beers of 2020 and things. This will not be like a top 10 list. You know, my brain is just full of rubbish and information and things. I don't like putting limits on the amount of information and things like that, which is why you get big long reviews from me. And personally I just like to sit down and think about things, and that's what my channel's about, to be honest with you. I don't like condensing or whatever just to try and get clicks and all of this sort of thing. I like to just say what I want to say about a beer, and that's what I'm going to do with this list. So I hope that you guys enjoy this one. But yeah, I think it's quite nice to sit down and reflect on all the different beers that I've had throughout the year, and think about different breweries and things like that as well. So this is quite a fun exercise. We probably will do this for 2021 as well. But I've got a nice session IPA here to sip on while we do this. For those of you that are curious, this one is the Luminous Lights from 71 Brewing in Dundee here in Scotland. These guys, I've not had, this is only my fourth beer that I've had from them, but this one I was quite impressed with actually. If the review isn't published already, you will see this one very, very soon. But this is a sort of, it's a New England IPA they're calling it. I think it's more of a session IPA at 5.2% ABV, but quite zesty and bitey actually. Really nice. So I hope I can review more beers from these guys when I'm home again later in the year. But this is very nice. Try it if you get the chance. You can only get this in Lidl in Scotland. But yeah, pretty damn good I have to say. So yeah, what I've done with this video is basically I've gone through all the reviews that I've done throughout 2020 and just picked out the beers that really kind of stood out to me. So it's not a top 10 list, it's not a top 20 or whatever. This is just the beers that really struck me and I thought I very much enjoyed and that I would recommend for people over 2020. So let's go for it, and we'll talk a bit about some breweries as well, because some breweries I've found have been generally very, very solid throughout this year too. So I started off 2020 with reviewing a few Japanese beers. I was in Japan for my son being born, which was nice, and hopefully I can get over there again very soon. Yeah, the beer that I would want to mention would be Uchu Brewing's Thunder. Beautiful IPA that. Really very, very nice. Those guys at Uchu Brewing, they learned to brew over in California if I remember rightly, and the two of them are farmers, and they're brewing a lot of hazy and West Coast type IPAs, and they're doing a really, really good job of it. They were the first brewery, I think, in Japan that really focused fully on IPAs. You've got other producers over there such as Isakadoya, Shiga Kogan are very capable as well, and there's also now a brewery called West Coast Brewing that I need to check out at some stage too. So that's another one that I really, really want to have a look at some stage. So yeah, hopefully I can get out to Japan. I think that's most likely to be sometime around September this year. My next trip to Japan will probably be sometime around September, so we need to see about making that happen. But yeah, I started off with some Japanese beers, like I said, Uchu Brewing. If you try any of the IPAs from these guys, you're not going to be disappointed. Those guys are doing some really, really good stuff. But yeah, we had about 2 weeks or so, I think it was, of Japanese beer reviews, and then it was back on to the Swedish things. So the first beer that I have noted was the Omnipollo quadruple dry hopped Fata Morgana. Fata Morgana, one of the classic Swedish IPAs for me. That, I guess, probably would be the first hazy IPA, come to think of it, that you would have had in Sweden, because I think Amazing Haze and stuff came, Amazing Haze and Narangi and things, or the GBG Beer Week would have been earlier than that. I think the Narangi and the GBG Beer Week came a little bit after that. So yeah, the Fata Morgana is a beautiful beer, and the quadruple dry hop version was pretty damn nice, I have to say. So yeah, if you get the chance to try the original Fata Morgana, beautiful beer. The quadruple dry hop version was just very, very nice. Omnipollo, very solid when they try their kind of purist brewing. I think their purist beers are very, very good. They're known for doing all these kind of flavour essence things, but yeah, the purist beers are also very good. But yeah, the next review that I published after that was that struck me was the Treehouse Brewing Very Hazy. And I think I might have filmed that one actually before. I've got a feeling that I probably would have filmed that one before I went to Japan that time. But yeah, Treehouse Brewing, everybody knows these guys. Their IPAs for me are very oaty leaning. They're the big kind of smooth ones. Treehouse really leaned towards that kind of big, smooth, oaty side of things. Very hazy. That was very kindly given to me by Chris Contreras, one of my subscribers. And I was really impressed with that one. Actually, that was one of his favourites, and I really enjoyed it as well. So yeah, the Treehouse Brewing, very hazy. After that, the next one that kind of came to mind was actually from my trip home to Scotland that I took in about February, if I remember rightly. So yeah, this was the, pardon me, the Vocation Brewing Love and Hate, which is one of the 440 cans, and that's a beer that you can get in Tesco throughout the UK. Yeah, that's a beautiful beer, that one. Very nicely done New England Hazy IPA. Probably the best supermarket beer, or probably the best supermarket IPA that you're going to find actually in Scotland, England, or wherever now. That's a really lovely beer. Vocation Brewing are doing some awesome stuff, and if you get the chance to try some of their beers, I highly recommend that you do. You know, Rob Hopsine speaks very highly of them, and the other English guys do as well. I think Rob is probably the guy that is closest to them, come to think of it, if I think where they are. Maybe Peter the Clueless Drinker and Adam at Mersey Beers as well. But yeah, Vocation Brewing are definitely worth checking out. Then on to the Scottish beers, Vault City and the Iron Brew Sour. Vault City are getting a lot of hype at the moment, quite rightly so in my opinion. They've got some awesome sour beers, and the Iron Brew Sour, for me, that was the very first one that I tried from them, and I was really impressed with that. I think that should be their signature beer. It's a beautiful beer. All of their sours are pretty good. I've reviewed 3 beers from them now, and I've got another 2 to do before I head back to Sweden quite soon. So yeah, you will see more of Vault City, and these guys, they're getting a lot of hype, but they very much deserve it at the moment, and I do hope that we can see their beers getting out to Europe again very soon. I managed to get one of them through Systembolaget, which was great. So yeah, Vault City Brewing and the Iron Brew Sour, that was top class. Really enjoyed that one. Another one that I would want to give a shout out to would be Overtone Brewing. So on that trip home, I also reviewed their Azaka New England Double IPA, and the New England Hazy IPAs are their kind of signature style. They've got an American brewer. They've done various other things like a few lagers and stouts and stuff like this, but yeah, the Hazy IPAs are what are really getting Overtone a lot of their hype just now. As I've said in recent reviews of Overtone beers, I think the reason that Overtone are getting a lot of hype just now is because their beers have gone down into England, so there's a lot more people kind of talking about them before. I first discovered these guys last year, early on in 2019, and I had the Rwandan Coffee IPA, and that's beautiful. I highly recommend that. But these guys, it's nice to see that they're getting the sort of hype that they deserve, because their beers have always been very solid. But I do think the hype that Overtone are getting just now is mainly because their beers are getting out there a bit more. They have expanded a wee bit, but those guys have always been good, and I look forward to reviewing more from them as well. But yeah, Overtone Brewing, definitely. Overtone and Vault City, Scottish breweries to watch over 2021, absolutely. But then yeah, after this we returned to Sweden. And then we had the Neblina from Remeloov Gård's Brogari. I didn't say that, Remeloov Gård's Brogari. That's a beautiful session IPA. Reminds me quite a lot of this one, and I mentioned that in the review for this one, the Luminous Lights from 71 Brewing. That Neblina is a really good session IPA. That was, to be honest, I thought that was better than quite a few of the other IPAs that I had from Remeloov Gård's Brogari throughout the year. And that's not to say that the other IPAs were bad, not at all, but just the Neblina really struck me. And I thought that was a really lovely, very nicely done session IPA. I would go as far as saying that that's one of the best session IPAs that you're going to find in the whole of Sweden. And I was quite happy to find out that that's been made a regular in the Malmö Systembolaget shop. So yeah, Remeloov Gård's Brogari Neblina, if you can get that one, try it. Yeah, the next one I have listed here, Dry and Bitter Hey Fem. That's a beautiful beer. That's one of the best hazy IPAs that I think I've ever reviewed. That one will take quite a bit of topping actually. That one, it was the first one, it had quite a bit of sweetness to it. I think that was like 11% or something. It was a big triple IPA, and that was just beautifully done. Dry and Bitter, very solid brewery, one of the Ull Kollektivet one of the Ull Kollektivet breweries, along with Ulsnigern and Gamma Brewing in Görlöse, northwest Copenhagen. That was a beautiful beer, probably the best one I've had from them so far, but I do need to try and get a few other beers reviewed from them fairly soon. But yeah, Dry and Bitter Brewing Company, Hey Fem, they are still brewing that. That is one of the best beers that they've done so far. So if you see that, because it's Danish, you will pay a little bit more for it in different countries because, you know, high labour costs and so on from Denmark, but that is a beer that is 100% worth trying if you get the chance. The next one I have listed is Lervig Aktiebryggeri, Stavanger up in Norway, Paragon. I think the one that I reviewed was the 2018, if I remember rightly, but that is an awesome, awesome barley wine. Lervig Brogari, very, very solid. I wish I could review a few more beers from these guys, actually. Whatever you have from Lervig tends to be very, very solid, but that Paragon barley wine was just beautifully, beautifully done. So yeah, I need to get a few more Lervig reviews done over 2021. I need to get a Norwegian beer mule. I really want some. I wish that someone was in Norway that could send me some of the more kind of quirky Norwegian beers. I'd love to get some more Norwegian stuff reviewed regularly, actually. So fingers crossed that's something that we can do in 2021. But yeah, the next one I have listed is Brewski, and I just want to talk about the pie series. Triple berry pie, raspberry pie, dragon fruit pie. I've had various ones. Brewski, along with a couple of others who we'll mention later, they've really got me into the kind of Berliner Weisses and the Goses, these big, big fruity Goses and Berliner Weisses and stuff like that. That pie series from Brewski is absolutely worth trying. Triple berry pie is awesome, and the raspberry and strawberry pies that I had are great, and I've had some really other interesting ones as well. But Brewski are really knocking it out of the park with both the pie and the cake series. At the moment, the cake, of course, are the pastry stout beers, but if you want something lower alcohol, do try the pie series. There's some really, really interesting beers in that just now, and I would highly recommend you look at that. Triple berry pie, raspberry, strawberry, dragon fruit, they've got quite a few different ones coming out, but the triple berry pie, I think, is the one that's going to be the kind of mainstay, if you like, of that series. So definitely check out one of those if you can get the chance. After this, I have the Mikkeler Bauhaun Steinsbeer. So yeah, this is one. This was on my dad came over for this. This was from the Mikkeler Bauhaun festival that we went to, and I picked that one up, and that was a beer that was brewed with local cherries from Sjælland on Denmark, and that was just a beautiful, beautiful beer. It was quite similar to a creek basically, but it was basically just a Sjælland creek, and I really, really enjoyed it. I need to get a few more Mikkeler Bauhaun beers reviewed on the channel over the next little while, but yeah, Mikkeler Bauhaun really doing some very, very good stuff as well. Stigberries Brewery Ololeo, that was a beautiful IPA. Again, it was one of these ones that had quite a bit of that Werther's original flavour in it from what I remember, but that was the first beer from Stigberries this year that was really like top class actually. The King of Hops and the Queen of Hops, which was released around the same time, those were really, really good as well actually. I very much enjoyed those, but yeah, Ololeo and King of Hops and Queen of Hops, those were all very, very good beers released roughly around the same time. I don't know if that beer is still available, but I hope that that's one that Stigberries consider bringing back at some stage. The next one I have down here is Nerd Brewing, the Finally barley wine. I've had some really, really good stouts from Nerd Brewing over the years. I love Nerd Brewing. They do some awesome, awesome stuff. It's at this point when I've had so many stouts from Nerd Brewing, in some ways it's quite difficult to distinguish between them and pick a favourite stout. But this is the main reason the barley wine stood out to me, was that I've had an IPA from these guys, which was really good as well, and now we had the barley wine, and that just really struck out to me because it shows you that Hannes Gruber at Nerd Brewing, that guy really knows what he's doing with these beers. So I've had so many stouts from these guys that are excellent, top class stouts, but the Finally barley wine I very much enjoyed. That one stuck out to me. I love trying different styles of beers from breweries that are known for things like this. Nerd Brewing, known for imperial stouts, I got a barley wine from them and it was very, very good. So yeah, really, really enjoyed that one. The next one is the Hølie Brewery Sconce Lager. One of the best lager beers I think you're going to find outside of Germany. The guys at Hølie have told me that that's going to go into 440ml cans soon, which I'm quite excited about. That was my only complaint about that beer, and I think the Dutch guys, I organised a kind of StreamYard review of that with the Dutch guys, and it was... it was really fun to do that actually, but that I think is one of the best lager beers I've reviewed throughout 2020. That was an awesome, awesome beer. So I do hope that now that they're expanding a little bit, they can get that beer out to different places. The Sconce Lager, I think, is really, really well done. Munich Helleslight, but just beautiful beer that I really, really enjoyed that one. Another one that I would give a shout out to would be Northern Exposure, who are from Eckerö to the southwest of Stockholm, or West Stockholm, I forget exactly. But Dolphin Love, their signature IPA that they have, is really, really nice. Very, very solid beer. There's a new beer coming out from Northern Exposure Brewing Company in January, and I'm going to see about getting that reviewed for you. You'll probably see that later in the month because of when I return to Sweden, but yeah, you will see another Northern Exposure review really soon actually. But yeah, Dolphin Love is definitely worth checking out. Yeah, so let's have a little look at the next one then. So the next beer I have listed here is OO Brewing Charismatico. That is one of the IPAs of 2020, absolutely, OO Charismatico. Really nicely done. I hope that that becomes a regular through Systembolaget. I think that is definitely one of the IPAs. Along with Hey Fem, Charismatico is one that really sticks in mind as one of the best IPAs that I had over 2020. I can't remember exactly what percentage it was, but I think that was I can't remember if that was a double or a triple IPA, but that was a beautiful beer. And the name, when I saw that again going through the list, that really just jumped out at me. I have to give OO Brewing a massive thumbs up as well for the 100 and the 50/50 series this year. As I've said in various reviews, I love I do love the educational value of those of doing those the single hop and the double hop IPAs, so you know, big thumbs up to them as well for the 100 and the 50/50 series. I mean, those aren't the craziest beers you're going to get from OO by any stretch of the imagination, but I really like them for my kind of ingredient nerdiness, if you like. But yeah, OO Brewing, awesome stuff. The next one we have one of the Finnish beers that was very kindly given to me by Riku, my Finnish beer mule, Malesipet, the Nantalin Epinen IPA. That is a really well done New England IPA. The quality of the Finnish beers that I had was great. These guys are a very small brewery, and you will see me review an Imperial Stout from them from the next Riku box at some point later this year. But yeah, that Nantalin Epinen IPA is really good. There's a few different versions of that, like double dry hopped and things like that from what Riku's told me. But yeah, Malesipet, if I'm pronouncing the name rightly. That was a very impressive one as well. I did have another really good one from Coolhead, and that was a collaboration with Sudden Death, and I want to say Gamma. So Sudden Death from the Hamburg area, Gamma from Copenhagen, the Hulk Juice. That was another very good double IPA from Finland. But yeah, those are probably the two best Finnish beers that I reviewed this year actually, and there was some really good dark ones, but we still need to look at some of the big boys from Finland. But yeah, those two were probably the best Finnish beers that I've tried so far actually. The next one I have listed here are the Omnipollo Biancas. So yeah, I had two of those. I had the one with the mango, if I remember rightly, and the guava and things, and then I forget what was in the other one, but those two Bianca beers that I reviewed from Omnipollo were very nice. I was having an interesting discussion with Ricard from Overett Glass, because he's kind of like he to a degree he likes some of these Omnipollo ones, the big sweet ones, but at the same time he likes the more kind of purist brewing, so his perspective's quite interesting. But Omnipollo, with these beers, they have got the natural fruit in them, but they put a little bit of flavour essence in there as well to kind of round it off. But those Biancas, I think, are very nice actually. The next beer that I have listed here is the Darkwing from Duck Pond. That's a beautiful beer. That I forget if that's a Gosa or a Berliner Weisse, to be honest with you, but it's one of these big wheaty, oaty, fruity and kind of candied sour beers actually. That's really nicely done. That is definitely one of my favourite sour beers that I had throughout 2020 as well. And if Duck Pond are going to start expanding a little bit, that would be the beer I would say that they should choose for that. The next one is the Mullis Brogari Nemesis. Yeah, that was a really interesting one. The thing that I really like about Mullis Brogari is that their beers, generally speaking, are still quite raw, and they're not madly refined, if that makes sense. So his brewery, Daniel Herdigan, his brewery is very small, just very kind of small scale, and his beers, he really does very well. That was a Florida IPA, and I thought that was just really nicely executed. So that is one that really struck with me, the Mullis Brogari Nemesis. The other one that comes into mind from him this year would be the Brown Affy Sugar, which was an Imperial Brownie. I thought that was another very nicely done beer. But I had the Tompe as well, which was one I wanted to try for a long time, and I forget whether, I think that was an Imperial Stout, that one. But yeah, Mullis Brogari, for me, they really shine when it comes to the big dark beers, you know, the Imperial Browns, the coffee stouts, the black IPAs and stuff like that. There's just something about Mullis Brogari's beers on the darker end of the spectrum. I've had some nice lighter ones as well, but I do think the darker beers is where they kind of shine the most, if you like. But a really nice little brewery from Eskilstuna. Yeah, I always mix up Örebro and Eskilstuna. Another brewery from Eskilstuna who are very, very good. And that, of course, is where Ricard from over at Glass is from as well. So I need to try and do some more things with him over 2021. The next one that I want to give a shout out to is Elm 11. I had some really, really nice Berliner Weisses from these guys. You know, I think they released 3. They released the Elements Lager and then they released 3 Berliner Weisses, and those were up there with the things that you're getting from Duck Pond, Mariendagens and the other sour beer breweries up there. I had some really, really good you know, Berliner Weisses from them. All three, or was it 4? I forget now. But all of the Elm 11 beers that I had were very, very impressive, and I look forward to seeing more from these guys throughout 2021. So I hope there's another Systembolaget release coming up from them. I'd like to feature them on the channel once again. So yeah, Elm 11, a little brewery from Malmö. They're brewing in the same place as Nerd Brewing. So yeah, the next one that I want to give a shout out to is Fjäderholmarnas Brogari. Those guys are from a little set of islands close to Stockholm. The Cutyard Lager, that was a really nicely done Vienna lager, that one. Really, really enjoyed that. That's probably the beer that really kind of stuck in my mind from these guys this year. But remember, I've been going through a little bit of a lager phase. Some of you guys might be saying, oh, but what about this IPA, what about that IPA? Yeah, they did some good IPAs and things, but the Cutyard Vienna lager really stuck in my mind from them. So yeah, Fjäderholmarnas Brogari. I'd love to see more lagers from them, actually. I would love that. The next one is Servicera Del Puerto, who are from Chile, and that was another beer that came in the Riku box. I had a Scotch Ale from them, which was really nicely done, very, very authentic. That beer, I've not tried other beers from Chile. That's, I think, the only beer that I've ever reviewed from Chile so far, so I hope that I can get some more done at some stage. But I thought that was really cool to find a very authentically done Scotch Ale from a Chilean brewery. That was a bit crazy, and again, thank you to Riku for organising that review. The next one that I have listed was Pojala Ö, which was the very first beer that they released. You might have seen earlier in the year that I went to Estonia for my friend Einar's wedding, and I got to do interviews with Pojala and Puhaste when I was there, and that was awesome. So yeah, to try the original beer, that was the very first thing that Pojala released. To get to review that one was great, and that beer was given to me by N Parel, one of the original founders of Pojala. So that was very, very cool. Make sure you go and check out their tap room and things if you find yourself in Thailand. That's an awesome place. It's very, very impressive, actually. But yeah, Pojala Ö was another one that stuck in my mind. Spike Brewery. This one, the Monkey Business. This was a collaboration with UX and Three Monkeys from Brazil. That was I've had some really, really good beers from Spike Brewery throughout the year. The other one was the Monopoly IPA. Those guys are doing some really, really good stuff. I always keep an eye on what they're releasing, but I think the 2 beers that really stuck in my mind this year would be Monkey Business and the Monopoly IPA. I had, you know, the last 2 that I reviewed from was Cold as Ice and Super Sharp Shooter. Those were also very nice. But yeah, Spike Brewery, I think, have had a very, very good year, actually. But Monkey Business and the Monopoly IPA, those are the ones that really stick out to me at the moment. So yeah, definitely check out that one. Yeah, the next one is Dea Brewing, Invoice Me for the Microphone. Really, really nicely done IPA. That one was given to me by Adam from Mersey Beers. That was my first dedicated review to Dea, actually, which was quite strange considering how much I'd heard about this brewery. But that was very nice, and you will see, if it's not published already, you will see another Dea review very, very soon, actually. But those guys, very highly rated brewery from Cheltenham and Gloucestershire in England, in the southwest. Definitely a brewery that you want to check out. As I say, check out my friends in the English beer tubing scene for that. Next one is Stigberries The Chronic. Yeah, triple IPA. I think that I want to say that was Citron Mosaic, but that was one of these beers that it was just beautifully executed. That was another awesome beer from Stigberries. Stigberries have had a very good year. 2019, I think, yeah, they did okay, but 2020, Stigberries have really put out some excellent beers, and the Chronic is definitely up there with the Ololeo. Those 2 probably are the best beers I think that they've done this year. King and Queen of Hops, I think, were also very nice. Next up we have OO Brewing, Double Narangi. Narangi, one of the classic Swedish IPAs. The double version was really nicely executed. I remember that I really liked the fact that it had an old school sort of bready and just oaty malt base. It didn't have the sweetness that seems to have come into the New England IPAs over 2020. So yeah, that's what I really liked about this one. Let me just take a little sip of this. But yeah, so that was the double Narangi. Amundsen Viking Brunchfest Club. That is honestly one of the best stouts I've reviewed on the channel, that one. Coffee, loads of other things in it. If you get the chance to try that Viking Brunchfest Club, that is just an awesome, awesome beer, that one. Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Yeah, really enjoyed that one. So yeah, Viking Brunchfest Club from Amundsen. They do a lot of stouts, these dessert in a cans and things like that, but I've not had one that that has matched that yet. The Glazed and Confused that I had not earlier in the year as well, that was a very good one, but Viking Brunchfest Club topped it quite easily. Really did. The next one I have listed here is North Brewing Transmission. Now, Adam, I think this is another one that Adam gave me, and this that's another one that Adam gave me, and that was a beer I think that he said he bought in Marks and Spencer's, if I remember rightly. But that has to be one of the best value IPAs you're going to get in England. That's a beautifully done beer. It's got some of the West Coast type oiliness to it from what I remember. I really enjoyed that one. Transmission from North Brewing was one that really just stuck in my mind. Really enjoyed that beer. The next one that I have listed is quite a famous one. Russian River Brewing, Pliny the Elder. That was very kindly given to me by Chris Contreras, the American dude that lives in Belgium and sends me ridiculous whale beers from America when he goes over there. That was really cool to try this one. That really showed me that the West Coast IPAs could be very kind of bready and things. That I really like that it showed me the kind of breadier end of the spectrum for the West Coast IPAs. I really enjoyed that actually, and it was awesome to finally get a hold of that beer. Hopefully at some stage I can get out to California and take a look, but yeah, I would love to go out there and just do some do some out and about videos and things like that in California. I think that would be absolutely awesome. So yeah, Russian River, Pliny the Elder, massive thank you to Chris for sorting that one out. The next one that I have listed is actually the it is the Helles beer that I had from the Helles Export, the Fest beer one from Bevog Brewery. That was sent to me by Davor Širis. Bevog, owned by a Slovenian guy but based just over in Bad Radkersburg, am I remembering the place right, in Austria, literally just over the river into Austria. That was really nicely done. But we also had a very good lager beer from Reservoir Dogs as well, if I remember right. Those were the two Slovenian beers. It was the lagers that I really enjoyed that Davor sent me this year. Those were very nicely done. So yeah, the Bevog Oktoberfest lager and the Reservoir Dogs lager that Davor sent me as well. Those were probably my two Slovenian beers that I enjoyed this year. But the other ones he sent me, of course, were very nice too. I've still got quite a few of the Slovenian beers to work my way through as well, so that may well change. But yeah, the next one I have listed was the Big Sound Scotch Ale from Cigar City in Tampa in Florida. That was really nicely done. It was a Scotch ale that just hit all the right notes for me. It had the big maltiness and everything that you want. The American Scotch ales, of course, are a little bit different from the Scottish brewed ones, but I really enjoyed that beer. That was great. The next one I have listed is the Lawson's Finest Liquids Double Sunshine. Yeah, there was a few. I forget what the name of the other was. It A Little Bit of Sunshine it was called or something. But the Double Sunshine that I had from the two beers that I had from Lawson's Finest Liquids, I think we should kind of. We should mention both of them, to be honest. Those were really quite nice, and I was surprised. Those beers, they didn't have the same bitterness as the West Coast, but the malt base was actually really quite similar to the West Coast, the IPAs. But Lawson's Finest Liquids are one of the kind of OG New England breweries, and they don't get as much attention over here in Europe. So that was a really cool one, and again, thank you to Chris for making that review possible. The next one I have listed here, another Mooley's beer, Lemonade. That's one of the quirkiest beers I've reviewed on the channel so far, actually. I forgot that earlier. The other two that I mentioned, the Brown Affy Sugar and the Florida IPA, the name of that's gone right out of my head now. But the Lemonade, that was just one of the quirkiest beers I've had all year, and I think that deserves a mention alone for its quirkiness. A sour beer, that was just crazy, that one. The next one I have here is the Morgendagens Deadhead. Again, this is another one of those big sweet sour beers that are going around in Sweden now. Big and oaty and wheaty. I thought this was really nicely done. The Morgendagens Deadhead, I really enjoyed that. That was a raspberry and licorice sour, if I remember rightly. That was based on one of the Swedish sweets, and that was beautifully done. Then we have Treehouse King Julius. That was one. This is one, again, when it comes to Treehouse Brewing, I've had quite a few of their IPAs now, and to be honest, I find it, I find it a bit difficult to distinguish between the different IPAs I've had from Treehouse, and one of the great comforts I take in trying these big American beers is that you try these ones and you see that, yeah, the ones that we're getting in Europe from the Stigberries, OO and the other IPA breweries in Sweden, those are the ones that it's cool to try the American ones and see, yeah, the European breweries are doing stuff that is just as good. That's what I think. That's the great comfort I take from these American beers. But King Julius was one, because a lot of people have commented on this beer and said how good it is. That was one that I was really happy to have on the channel this year. And again, that's another one that came from the man Chris over down in Belgium, I should say. So yeah, that was an awesome one. So yeah, the next beer that I would mention would be Fermentarana. Just their IPA. That's quite a recent one that I reviewed on the channel, pardon me, and I really enjoyed that. That was a very well executed beer, and I hope that stays in the regular range in Systembolaget. I thought that was really beautifully done from them. And Fermentarana are one of the breweries who do some really quirky beers, but they seem to be producing a few IPAs at the moment, so definitely worth keeping an eye on in my mind. Absolutely, 100%. But yeah, the next one I would mention would be White Dog Brewery from the Netherlands. That was one that was given to me by the Dutch guys, and that's probably my favourite Dutch beer that I've reviewed so far. The quality of the Dutch beers, generally speaking, is very good. But yeah, White Dog Brewery, Cloud IPA, that was very nicely executed, beautifully done. So well done to them for that, and thank you to the Dutch guys again. It was cool to go down and visit Thomas, and hopefully I can meet the other Dutch guys at some stage fairly soon. But yeah, the next one I have mentioned here is Puasta Tumaina Kenya. That was a coffee stout. As you'll know, in recent times I've gotten really into my coffee stouts. That was mainly thanks to Douglas Brewery up in Gothenburg, and yeah, the Tumaina Kenya that was given to me by the guys down there, that was awesome. That was great. I really enjoyed that one. Beautiful coffee stout. But Puasta, they do some awesome beers. I've got 2 more Silver Series beers to review from these guys as well that you'll see at some stage. But yeah, to have that Tumaina Kenya, and to also film the review with the guys down there as well was great. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, definitely go and check out my my Puasta video that I did at the brewery down there. The next one I have is Rock City Koffiebuiker. That was a beer that was brewed by Rock City for Remy Den Dupe at Beer Geek Holland, who is the OG Dutch beer tuber. I filmed a review of that with Thomas, and I think that was a beer originally Remy had given that to Thomas to review on his channel, but then it was one that I saw Thomas wanted to pick out a few beers for us to review together, and we decided that that was going to be we decided that we would like to do that one, and then he asked Remy, and Remy was like, yeah, absolutely. So it went on my channel instead of Thomas's channel. So yeah, the Koffiebuiker was an awesome beer, that one. I really enjoyed that, and it was cool to, it was just funny to see Remy on the label of that beer. Actually, I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, that was a really nice beer. It was very quirky. That's one of my favourite reviews I think that I've filmed this year. I think for the fun that I was filming with Thomas, I really enjoyed that actually. I need to do more collaboration reviews with the likes of Ricard up in Eskilstuna, and some of the other guys. Filming those reviews with Thomas was very fun. So yeah, the next one I have listed here was Stone and Modern Times Wizards and Gargoyles Coffee IPA. That was beautifully done, I have to say. I really enjoyed that. That was an awesome beer. Very quirky. If you do get the chance to try that, I hope you do, and I hope that both of those breweries get their heads together and do something else like that, or make that a regular beer, because that was just beautifully done. Coffee IPAs, I think there's so much potential there, so much potential. It's again, it's like when black IPAs first appeared, you're like, how does that work? But somehow it does. Yeah, the next one I would mention would be Apex Brewing Tender Abuse. That, you know, these guys have done some awesome IPAs over the year. And again, like I was saying with Treehouse earlier, I've had so many good IPAs from Apex. At some stage it just gets a little bit hard to distinguish. But I think Apex deserve a mention in this list just because of how consistent they are, and you know, they're doing some awesome, like really ridiculously good New England Hazy IPAs. Actually, I'd love to see them have a go at some West Coasters and some black IPAs and stuff like this as well. But Tender Abuse, that's one of the more recent ones I've had. I really enjoyed that, but I had some awesome IPAs from them back in the year. I hope they're going to release some more things through Systembolaget in 2021, because there hasn't been anything from them in a good few months now, actually. I think since maybe about May or June, come to think of it. So been too long since there's been some Systembolaget releases from Apex Brewing. Actually, I think they're building their export market at the moment. But yeah, the next one I would mention would be Amabroikus and Interbrews Damascus Steel. That was one of the beers I reviewed for my birthday, and I was glad that I kept that. That was a beautifully done barley wine. That it just had everything you wanted. A bit, you know, the big brown sugars, the oily fruits. It was just beautifully done. Amabroikus, one of my favourite breweries, I would say overall. I feel quite lucky to live close to them in Copenhagen, but I do want to get them on for a Meet the Brewery segment once the whole you know, once the whole how do you say, once the whole COVID-19 pandemic thing buggers off. Yeah, really want that. Yeah, my third last beer then. So Lea Prulicoda Singularity. Yeah, that was a really crazy imperial stout. I had some really interesting beers from Lea over the years, and I do have one that I think will probably be on the best beers of 2021 list when I actually do get round to reviewing that. But yeah, the Singularity, an 18% imperial stout, and that was one of my birthday beers, and it was quite frankly just you know, just ridiculous that I drank that myself because you know, I was going to share it with a friend, but my friend ended up not showing up, and I ended up drinking that myself just the day before my birthday. So yeah, that was that beer was just crazy. But Lea, they do some really good high alcohol beers. That seems to be their speciality. But yeah, I had some awesome Estonian beers, and yeah, Lea Prulicoda were responsible for quite a few of those. The next one that I would like to mention would be Hop Hooligans and their Nothing Is Random. That was the very first beer that I tried from Romania. I was very impressed with that. That brewery seemed to specialise in doing the IPAs, so yeah, hopefully I can get a few more Romanian beers reviewed on the channel throughout 2021. It was really nice to do my very first one. That was the very first beer from Romania that I tried at all, which made it quite special, but I was very impressed with the quality from Hop Hooligans. They were from a little place, was it Pilava or something? Vilava, maybe, something like that, from just to the south of Bucharest, and I was very impressed with them. So you know, that beer I think deserves a mention as well. Nothing Is Random, very good. And the last beer that I have in this list is the Bierbibliothek and Apex Brewing Muck. That was a beautifully done New England IPA. Bierbibliothek, very consistent brewery. Always do different things. That's what I really like about them. Again, those guys are one of my favourite breweries overall, I would say. And then Apex, we know, are very good with the New England IPAs, but the Muck really leans towards that orangey end of the spectrum, and it was nice and big and thick and creamy. That was just a beautifully done beer, that actually. And yeah, that rounds off my list of favourite beers in 2020. So yeah, a few breweries that I would say that we need to watch over 2021. From Scotland, Overtone, as we've mentioned already, some incredible IPAs from these guys. I do want to make sure I review a few more of their beers. Vault City, doing some awesome sours. Those are probably the two up and coming breweries to really watch from Scotland. And another brewery who are really new on the scene are New Barns from Leith in Edinburgh. There's a very good pedigree behind them. Two of them have worked at the Kernel Brewery, one of them's worked at Siren, and two of them also at Beavertown as well. Actually, they've got an incredible pedigree. They're focusing on sessionable beers. Those guys, I think, are going to make an impact in Scotland throughout 2021. I think people are going to really talk about them quite a bit, and yeah, maybe within 2022, 2023, maybe their beers will be getting a bit of attention in England as well. We'll need to see. But New Barns Brewery from Leith, I think, are one that we should definitely keep an eye on. In Denmark, Slow Burn Brewing and Kaleidoscope. Yeah, Slow Burn are doing some awesome stuff. I think I can't remember if it was the very end of 2019 that I tried my first beer from these guys, but one that I really want to get from Slowburn is the Octo Pils. I've never seen that in cans again, but that is one that I definitely want to try and get a hold of, actually, the Slowburn Octo Pils. I tried that beer with Craig from Kent Beer Reviews' friend Simon. That was a beautiful, beautiful beer, this one. But yeah, Kaleidoscope, they're another new brewery who are based in Amager in Copenhagen. I think when they scale up a little bit, they're going to have quite a lot of attention as well, actually. But when it comes to Swedish breweries, Apex Brewing, as I said, they've had a very, very good year. I hope they release more Systembolaget things, because it's quite expensive to order their beers through Glassbank, and to be quite honest with you, they basically doubled the price of them, unfortunately. So yeah, the Apex Brewing beers, I hope they're a bit more accessible throughout 2021. Another brewery that deserve a big mention would be Hans Brewing, who are from Karlstad. They're doing some awesome IPAs. They've only released 3 or 4 through Systembolaget so far, but that's definitely a brewery to watch, and I think they'll probably, the beers I've had from them so far have been very nice, and I think they're going to do some very interesting stuff over 2021, actually. Duck Pond Brewing, as I've mentioned, those guys I'm sure are going to do some very good stuff. Morgendagens, those two doing some awesome sour beers, actually. Definitely keep an eye on those guys in Gothenburg. Dugges Brewery as well, they've had a very, very consistent year. It was the reason that Dugges weren't mentioned earlier was that it was quite hard to pick out my favourite beer from them. I've had a lot of IPAs from Dugges over this year, so it was quite hard to pick one. That was one of the main reasons why Dugges, that I didn't mention Dugges in this one. But the 2 beers that I had recently, the Lux and the Lusher Crusher, those were very good. The Dugges have thickened up their New England IPAs recently, and that's really just taken them up a little notch, in my opinion. Fermentararna, their IPA, as I said earlier, that's a very good beer. I think they're going to do some really interesting stuff. They've got more IPAs and other things coming out through Systembolaget quite soon. Another brewery that I would mention as well would be Akia, who are from, I want to say Kungsholmen. They're from just to the south of Gothenburg, but Akia, I had some really nice IPAs from these guys. They're a very small brewery that are based in an old mill, and I think they're going to do some very interesting stuff over 2021 as well, actually. So I really hope that I can review a couple more beers from those guys at some point soon. But I do keep an eye out for the things that they release through Systembolaget, actually. I keep an eye out for Akia beers when they release them. But another brewery that I think we're going to see quite a bit of in 2021 will be Coolhead from Finland. I mentioned them earlier on. They're doing some really crazy sours. The guy behind them is Brazilian, so he's bringing the Brazilian style of brewing over into Europe, which is great. And I think it's really nice to have something slightly different. So Coolhead Brewing from Finland, I think, will be the first Finnish brewery that really break out there. They're starting to do it, but I think by the end of 2021, Coolhead Brewing from Finland will be a lot better known than they are just now. Yeah, that's definitely a brewery to watch out for. Two of the other highlights this year have been trying more of the Russian beers, the Russian IPAs, from like Stam Brewing. Trying my first Bakunin beer. The Russian stuff is very, very good. You've got Zagovor and AF Brew are probably the most accessible of the Russian breweries these days. But yeah, the quality of the Russian beers is very, very good at the moment. So if you get the chance to try some Russian craft beer, I highly recommend that you do. Very light, very sessionable IPAs in a lot of sense. But usually the Russian IPAs are deceptively high in alcohol. They've got a very light mouthfeel to them, almost session IPA-like, regardless of whether it's a triple or whatever. They're stupidly easy to drink. So yeah, the Russian stuff is definitely worth mentioning as well. And one of the other highlights has been getting more Brazilian beers on the channel as well. Dadiva, and other breweries that I've had from down there. It was nice to get UX Brew on the channel once again too. The Brazilian beers, I've not finished filming those yet, so you will see more of those when I go back to Sweden, right enough. But yeah, the Brazilian beers I've been very impressed with as well. I do want to get to South America at some stage and film a little bit more. But yeah, if you get the chance to try some Russian and Brazilian stuff, I would recommend those. The Russian and Brazilian stuff, I think, in terms of novelty, along with Hop Hooligans from Romania, that's been the highlight of the channel. This year, I would say, from the novelty perspective. But yeah, I think that this is I don't know how long this video's turned out to be, but yeah, I think that rounds off my 2020 summary for you. I've really enjoyed a lot of the beers that I've had over 2020, and it's been a great year for the channel. So yes, let's leave it at that for this video then. Yeah, a little bit of a longer one again, but as I say, I struggle to do, you know, top 10 lists and things like that, but these are the things that have really been the highlights for me beer wise over 2020. So I look forward to 2021. I've got lots of stuff still to work through, quite a few Dutch beers, quite a few Estonian things, some Slovenian stuff, to do some Brazilian things as well actually. So yeah, those yeah, I think I've got one Russian beer that I still need to look at as well, come to think of it. But yeah, there will be more things coming out over 2021. There will be another Finnish box coming, there will be some more Italian beers in 2021 and potentially some Austrian stuff too, but I'll keep you up to date with that. I'm going to make a channel message video as well, and you'll see that come out very, very soon. But yeah, this was my beer highlights, my favourite beers of 2020 and my breweries to watch for 2021. So let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching this one. Thank you for your support over 2020. Make sure you stay safe until we get to the end of this pandemic thing. Do your social distancing, wash your hands and all of this kind of thing. Just stay safe, and let's look forward to 2021. It's going to be a far better year, I'm sure, than 2020 has been. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for your support. Check out all my social media, and I'll catch you guys soon. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you very, very soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers.